Hey YouTube vinyl community, this is Chris. I'm here to do my part in the Blue Note 4000 series project. So I'll be talking about Blue Note 4076, Horace Silver Quintet. It's one of two Horace Silver Quintet albums that I have. I've got, this is the other one, 4008. So this was talked about earlier in this series, very early, by, I forget who it was, Sherv or Rob or Dave, but the one I'm going to be talking about is this one. Horace Silver Quintet, Doing the Thing at the Village Gate. So this is a live set at the Village Gate in Greenwich Village, New York. It was recorded over 2 days in May 19th and 20th, 1961. This is a stereo version, so it's actually 84076. There's the label there. It's even the right side up now. So Horace Silver Quintet, Blue Mitchell on trumpet, Junior Cook tenor sax, Horace Silver piano, Gene Taylor bass, and Roy Brooks on drums. So this is 4 tracks that make up this album. One thing I thought was kind of odd or interesting was, I said this was recorded May 19th and 20th of 1961. Also on May 19th, Miles Davis recorded an album at Carnegie Hall. So just 2 things going on there at once. So this is four long tracks. Mostly it's pretty up-tempo. Starts out with Filthy McNasty. So he was a cat that had some issues, but good way for them to play along. So they start out with horns, and I think Steve at Bass Clef mentioned that he did a Horace Silver review, and one of his comments was that Horace Silver, being the leader and the piano player, doesn't really push his piano that much. Everybody in the band gets lots of opportunities. So it starts out with, it's a 9.5 minute track, Filthy McNasty. First 6 minutes are the horns, the trumpet, the sax. Then the piano comes in for a couple minutes, and then they go back to the horns to wrap it up. There's also a reissued version of this, which has 2 additional tracks and a little bit longer intros, talking intro, in particular on Filthy McNasty. But then the second track is Doing the Thing. So that's introduced as an up-tempo minor blues song. So starts out, the horns again provide the intro, then goes to the sax, then the piano, then the trumpet, back to the piano, then both horns come in, and then there's even a drum solo for 2 minutes towards the end, and then the horns come back in and wrap things up. So this is described in general as a hard bop album. So that takes care of side 1. Then side 2, you start out with Kiss Me Right. So they say this is going to slow things down, get them in a groove, bluesy number. It turns out to be a pretty mid-tempo thing, not really very slow at all. But again, the horns start out, then the sax takes over, then the trumpet comes in, then the piano comes in about halfway through at the, well, 2/3 of the way through at the 6-minute mark. The horns come back in and wrap the song up. Then they get to their final track on here, the Gringo, the theme. So Horace Silver introduces this track, the Gringo, and says that it's going to be a Latin number. And, you know, he starts out and, you know, plays a little bit of an intro, which might have a slight Latin feel to it, but when they get into the song itself, you know, I don't really hear any Latin influences there. But they start out with the sax, then the trumpet, and then again around 6-minute mark, which seems pretty consistent throughout this album, Horace Silver comes in on the piano, and then they get another drum solo. Then the horns come back in. They drift off into the theme or the Cool Eyes. You know, this sort of transitions to some different songs, but the Gringo is the main part of it. This one was not quite as harmonious as the other tracks. Everyone's playing was a little bit more percussive on that track there. And another interesting thing is that everybody solos except the bass player on this version of it. There's some bass solos if you get the reissued, remastered version with the other tracks and a little bit longer cuts. Then you get some bass solos, but otherwise it's just the two horns, the piano, and the drum that actually solo on these things. So this is my take on this Blue Note thing. This is like the fourth quarter of a blowout basketball game. You know, the coach says, "All right, clear the bench. It's safe to put anybody in there now." So that's what I feel like. I'm called in to when I couldn't do any harm. So, but thanks for Sherv and Dave and Rob for giving me this opportunity. So this is probably the most I've listened to these Blue Note albums. This one in particular. I may have one or two other ones that are very late in this series. But there it is, Horace Silver doing the thing at the Village Gate, 4076, 1961 recording. So, thanks everybody. I'll see you later.